Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I am Sterling Holmes, JB Brisco himself, Josh Brisco. Dude, let's get after it. Let's have us
Happy
a
Tuesday,
day.
man. I'm glad to
Happy
see you.
Tuesday
Mustache
coming
looking electric.
Happy Tuesday coming to Tuesday because we are about to partay. And now I'm done. All right, great show, everyone. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks, everybody. All right, go ahead and take us out here. All right, goodbye.
You know, again, we mentioned it last week, and we're going to mention it for the next probably 2 or 3. You can't make news happen, but that's okay. Because
Even
news
when Isaiah
is good
Bugs
news.
tries.
We're not talking about, we're not doing negative stuff. They got rid of him. They cut him.
There you go. There's your news.
They cut him. He's gone. No longer here. No longer with us. Well, I mean, like with us in Chiefs Kingdom. He's not here. Okay, so we're going to have some fun. There's a PFF. I know everyone loves PFF, right?
Only when they agree with me, and then I love them. And when they disagree with me, I hate them, and they're boring, and they're garbage. That's what I've learned from the internet. Yeah.
Correct take. So what we're doing is we're going over the weapons rankings that PFF came out with. We'll see where the Chiefs came, where we think they should be, fair, unfair, or not. And we'll do some this or that. And I think we'll do a little barbecue sauce ranking potentially if we get there.
Whoa, I wasn't prepared for that. I need my whiteboard. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You're drop that on me now?
Yeah, so sorry.
Did we not kind of do that last week? We definitely talked about barbecue sauce last week, too.
I'm a big barbecue sauce guy. All right, let's get into it. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It like you referred to it, this is supposed to be a quiet time, but other than Isaiah Bugs getting cut and Travis Kelce cutting a rug in London, making his Eras Tour debut, that legitimately might be the extent of Chiefs news to this point. Everybody's still talking about football, though. Everybody's still got a take to bring out. And I'll let you know, if at any point during the show today you feel like maybe the energy has dipped a little bit, you want a little infusion of something, I do have something special that I just recently uncovered while I was cleaning my office that I just think might be able to give this a little boost that we need to get through the show today.
Oh, love that. Do want to give a quick shout out. Just did a fun interview right before the show with Colts edge rusher Kwity Paye from Michigan, first-round draft pick. Just actually got his 5th-year option picked up. Was at 8.5 sacks last year, really progressing nicely as an edge rusher for the Colts. Interviewed him, a lot of fun, really cool story. Didn't get into a ton of his background in the 10 minutes I had, and probably he doesn't want to talk about it. But if you look up his background of where he was born, what he had to go through, his family to get to the United States, he came as a baby, being born in a war-torn country. Very, very interesting. And now, honestly, just great guy. And we talked about it, and without being prompted, he had no idea I'm anything Kansas City, Arrowhead Addict, Chiefs related. I said, was there ever a player that you grew up idolizing? Is there ever a player that you grew up, saying, I want to play like that guy? Tamba Hali.
Yes, that's what I was hoping you were going to say. That rules.
Tamba Hali, and he said Tamba to this day still texts him. And I was like, you have no idea how many fans in Chiefs Kingdom you just made happy right there. So we like that. So Kwity Paye, shout out to him. That interview will drop on Stacking the Box probably in a couple days. So be on the lookout for that. But I thought it was very fun that Tamba Hali still has his fingerprints all over the NFL and edge rushers, not just with the Chiefs edge rushers, but in the NFL landscape as a whole. I thought it was very cool for Tamba Hali.
It also makes so much sense because if you are, I don't know what Kwity Paye's like recruiting story was like, and I didn't know any of that about his background either, so I don't know how that impacted it. But imagine being an edge rusher in late high school or in college and feeling like you were being underrated, or maybe like you didn't. Again, I don't know if this was true for Kwity Paye or not, but if you were a pass rusher that felt like they did not have the most elite of the elite tools, the first person I would point you towards, maybe in NFL history, would be Tamba Hali, a tremendous athlete, obviously, right? A physical freak in many, many ways. But the thing about Tamba was that everything he did was maniacal. Like the way that he warmed up was maniacal. I talked to Tamba a few years ago, and that was one of the things I had to ask about. And like that's my I was gonna say that's my golden age of Chiefs football. That's not true. That was a very formative time for me as a football fan. And I couldn't help but be like, hey, let's go through some of the pregame routines. And he talked about like his goal was to have his second wind hit at kickoff, essentially. Like that he was going to exhaust himself so much through the preparation of it that throughout the rest of the game, it would just be kind of rebooting that same second win thing. And I don't know if you mentioned halftime directly or not, but to start the game, you're over the first bump. At halftime, you're over the second. Late in the game, who cares? You've been exhausted the entire time. And he became such a technician with his handwork. And we've heard George Karlaftis talk about that. And FAU's working with him. And I'm sure Kwity Paye has gotten some tips in that regard also. But again, I don't want to make it sound like Tamba was like a 7th round draft pick and never had any physical tools. I don't know if there's an edge rusher in recent memory to me who did more with what he had than Tamba Hali. And that to me made him like such a shoe-in as a Ring of Honor guy, and makes him he probably won't be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He is a Chiefs Hall of Famer with a bullet, and in both on and kind of off-field ways, so deserving of that title.
I also tried to bring up, without saying FAU, just the transition from college to the NFL, some of the differences, and why sometimes it can take a while for edge rushers to really get their footing. So I was really pleased with how that went. A lot of fun talking with him. Very entertaining. So look out for that interview dropping the next couple of days.
Can I ask a not main topic, but on brand NFL sort of behind the scenes question that I think we have some similarities and probably some differences on that I'm just curious about since we're here?
I would love this.
You do a ton of these like one-off interviews that are often, like Radio Row especially. Radio Row is a car wash of people going through and doing 6 to 10 minute interviews at these different stops. Usually they're promoting a product, and you got some headlines out of a Bounty sponsorship that led to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, right?
Yeah, they were one. Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett was the other one.
There's something you do a ton of those, and from what I've seen, and I hate to say this when I can't take it back in front of an audience, but you're very good at them too. And I think that you must enjoy that high wire act a little bit. And I am absolutely of two minds with it, because like getting thrown into the mix at Radio Row and being like, hey, yeah, in 2 minutes you're talking to Jack Youngblood. Can you do that? I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. What the bleep am I going to try to get from Jack Youngblood here in 120 seconds? Now it's 110. I don't know that we've talked about that little part of the job that often throws you into that mix. I talked to Isaiah Pacheco while he was hawking Little Caesars last offseason, and he wasn't in a super talkative mood. So trying to then, or at least he'd done a lot of these interviews and he wasn't in a super playful mood right away. Figuring out how to get the best stuff out of your guest there when they know why they're there and you know why they're there, and you have to either stand out or ask the best questions. You were doing this for Kylie Kelsey recently too, I know. What do you enjoy about that? What do you hate about it? What stresses you out? I'll answer those versions myself too.
I don't hate anything about it. I think it's really fun. I guess the part I would hate the most is the fact that I probably get very sweaty when I realize, oh bleep, I have to find something to do now. How am I gonna parlay this into some questions that I think would the listeners find interesting. Not just what I find interesting, but what listeners, and not just be super generic. I just enjoy it. I like trying to create a connection first and foremost. Then I think they open up a little bit. Like the first 3 minutes, you have to understand, save the good stuff. First 4 minutes, whatever it is, almost wait. You kind of have to ease into it, if you will. And that's what I try and do. And also understand that it's okay to have a bad one.
Yes,
that's the thought process you have to have is there are going to be some, I've had bad ones. I've had ones where I go, wow, what am I doing here?
Yes.
They don't want to be here. It's clear, no matter what I say, what I do, they don't care. I've had some of those, and you move on, and that's what you learn is life moves on. It'll be fine. You'll be okay. I just enjoy it. I've always enjoyed being around people and talking and just the randomness about it. So for me,
I think
it was 110 interviews, by the way, in Radio Row during that like 3.5 day stretch. It was 110. So it was fun. It was a lot, but it was very, very enjoyable.
And I don't think I hate any of it either, but it is hectic. And the fact that sometimes you just get a bad matchup, you just get a stinker sometimes. It feels bad. It's like, oh, I had this opportunity and I was excited to try to get the most out of somebody. But like you said about hey, the first 3 minutes are not where we're going to get any headlines or we're going to get a story we've never heard before, unless it's a person you have a little bit of a relationship with already, or at least a good vibe with, like going back to when I talking to Tamba at the event years ago now. I don't think it took us too long to get on the same wavelength because he's a former player now and a little older and he's talked plenty and he was in the right headspace for all of that. But there is something that I just don't think most people think about this. There is something so bizarre about hi, I'm a stranger and I need us to talk like we're friends for 10 minutes. And ideally, if you could tell me something you've never told anyone else publicly, that would be ideal. You have no reason to do me that courtesy. That there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. And it can definitely be our fault as well. We can start. I had a Radio Row interview with some former Patriot that started off on the wrong foot and ended up being us making jokes about Spygate and him having no interest in it. And that was uncomfortable. But my favorite part of it is, I think, as you were alluding to, what you might be able to get. It's just, this is a weird art form at this point. And I hope people find it interesting. You watch and listen to a lot of sports media. We're just talking about how some of the sausage gets made. But what you might get from roughly minute 3 to minute 5, and then how you dismount is almost all that matters. And if you can get one of those little anecdotes, or you can ask a question that prompts something that they haven't been asked about 15 times, that's the biggest thing. And it's why even with some of the sponsored stuff, sometimes I just get the sponsored stuff going right out of the gate, so they're not wondering if I'm going to make it to the ad read later on.
Always that. First question was about the chunky, Campbell's chunky. It's actually sounds really good. They sent me one in the mail. I just opened it up, actually. I'm going to probably have it after the show. It's Nashville hot chicken soup.
Ooh. Hey,
not
look
out
at
yet.
that. The advertising.
Not out yet. Yeah. Classy.
Wow,
classy.
That's great. But trying to, you somebody in the comments, Lauren said earlier, interviewing's like dating, ease into it, and you'll have some bad ones. That there is something to we're gonna try to create a little bit of chemistry as strangers for 8 minutes of entertainment for other strangers to listen to, and it's just it's a weird thing. The weirdness of it you can't argue, because also these are real, by and large, normal people. It's either incredible athletes who are now, as you and I age, Sterling, I hate to tell you this, incredible athletes who are a little younger than we are, or Kylie Kelsey, who is now famous in her own right, and that had grown over the last several years and becoming more than just Philly famous, becoming known around the world and all of that. But she didn't know she was signing up for that at any given point. She didn't sign up to get famous by marrying the center for the Philadelphia Eagles, right?
Oh, come on. Everyone knows when you marry the center in football, that's the prime position. We all know this.
Listen, as somebody who had at least 1 year of playing center, if memory serves, I had a lot of concussions, but as somebody who played some center for sure, you gotta be comfortable with your equipment there. And I feel like that's just a good sign for all centers. I mean, You're comfortable with an intimate touch, and you also know how to pop out of a shotgun.
I can't wait to the next center I interview. How comfortable are you when your quarterback gets right back in there?
And you got to be up. You got to
Well, now it's a lot of shotgun, obviously. A lot of shotgun
for sure, but
now.
when you are under center, you've gotta. The center needs to know that you're there.
Like, could we ask Creed, for example?
Yeah.
You're blind. They give you a they cover your eyes. Okay. Can you tell whose hands are Carson's and whose hands are Mahomes back there?
I think centers have talked about this before, and the answer being yes. I think it might have been one of the longtime Patriot centers or something that talked about it. But yeah, I mean, you gotta have that kind of relationship there.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna get into the PFF stuff here because I think this is pretty interesting. And I saw some people getting up in arms about this, and my initial reaction was, I don't think they're that far off. And that is PFF's receiving core grade. They did wide receiver, tight end, and at times running back if the running back is a needle mover as a receiver, right? So, for example, Isaiah Pacheco isn't necessarily known as a needle mover as a receiver, but for example, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler potentially, those guys would be, right? So that's kind of the difference maker here. And some tight ends, maybe you're block first. Today's NFL, not many of those, but just hypothetically here, while Travis Kelce is going to have high value and be in the Chiefs' receiving room. All right, let's get into it. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this. Brisco, I know you have seen this. For those of you that don't, I'll give you 3 seconds to guess. Where do you think the Chiefs land on the list of 32 teams? If you guessed 16, you are our big winner. Yeah,
Love this.
16. And I think some of the thought was, well, they were so bad last year. Is 16 too high? Like, should they be more in the 20s, right? They were horrendous last year with Travis Kelce, with Rashee Rice. And then some folks are saying, well, Travis Kelce's the biggest value at tight end. They brought in Hollywood Brown, a guy who's had 1,000 yards receiving one time in his career. Rashee Rice is a guy who came on strong the second half of the season, right? You almost got to take the second half and first half and divulge them, make them two separate things, and take the second half as what's going to happen going forward.
Much like you will this season.
Much like you will this season. But I don't think they made that a distinction in their rankings, right? It's just totality.
No, you're right.
Xavier Worthy first rounder, and they did not have Isaiah Pacheco in their little list of players. They
didn't mention him in the assessment, essentially. Yeah.
So Chiefs at 16, just ahead of the Raiders at 17, and just behind the Cowboys at 15. What were your initial thoughts to this?
My initial thought was, straight down the middle of the pack. I think that makes sense. You set up kind of the high end and low end of it. I think if I was in the position where I was going to like draft a team's pass catcher group for the Chiefs or for Patrick Mahomes, maybe you have the offensive line and Mahomes, and then you draft the group of skill position guys. Again, maybe you don't want to count the running backs as runners as much, but I think I would have scooted them up over Dallas because it's just sort of CeeDee Lamb and then some shrug emojis. The Packers at 14. Obviously, all of those young guys they drafted like 2 years ago have pretty much all broken out to some extent. But if I'm running with Patrick Mahomes, I would rather have the group that is Travis Kelce and company. And I'm finding myself increasingly high on Hollywood Brown, which is more about Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy right now, I think, than it is just about him. All that to say, like I went back through the list. The Falcons at 13, they've invested a ton there, and Bijan as a pass catcher is a different animal than where Pacheco's at right now. I think 14, 15, 16 is about the right range. I think that the group is really interesting. I would maybe be able to argue that they get near the top 10 easier than I would argue that they get down to 25 or in that range, because the Titans are kind of banking on DeAndre Hopkins and now Calvin Ridley, right?
Yeah, that was a surprising name. For me, there were two surprises there.
Tampa at 11, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have been the best duo of receivers in the league at times, they're also both up there now. Like those are kind of, but the Chiefs on the other hand are hugely, hugely unknown. Two of your top 3 pass catching options starting the year will be guys that have not played a snap for the Chiefs yet, unless you count Justin Watson over Worthy right now.
And that was kind of my, Hollywood Brown, unknown. Xavier Worthy, unknown. Travis Kelce was last year an aberration. Is he going back to over 1,000 yards, or is the new Travis Kelce a 950-yard guy who maybe misses a game or two? We'll see. I think Kelce goes over 1,000 yards. If you told me to place a bet, him or Hollywood, who goes over a K, I'm taking Kelce over Hollywood, although I do think Hollywood Brown has a really nice year. I keep getting more enamored by Hollywood Brown. Maybe it's me just talking myself into it as the offseason progresses, but I'm pretty enamored by Hollywood Brown now at this point. I thought the Falcons were interesting. Drake London's very good, but Kyle Pitts is like, okay, the talent's there, but he's never shown anything. So basically you're saying...
It's so hard to divorce this from the quarterback, too. Like,
agreed.
And those Packers guys might be irrelevant if Desmond Ridder was their quarterback.
But like Darnell Mooney and Rondell Moore, does that move the needle? Because it doesn't really for me. Like, now you're talking about almost Justin Watson's. Like, a little better than Justin Watson's, I would say. But like, how much better? Marginal, right? Like, I'm not building a team around those two guys in particular. They're wide receiver 3s. And like, I'm taking Kelce over, again, not a major complaint here. I think they're in the right area of 16, obviously. Just I thought Tennessee was the other one that was interesting because Calvin Ridley Hopkins have a lot of concerns with their age and Calvin Ridley just in general. Tyler Boyd, I think, is done. And Treylon Burks, who I like, has basically been a slightly better Sky Moore. And I like Treylon Burks. I loved him coming out of college, but it's not like Treylon Burks has been this absolute stud. So I'm sitting here going, am I being a little unfair using age against Hopkins, age against some of these other players, yet I'm sitting here with Travis Kelce being like, oh, no, he's fine. Oh, he's fine.
That's exactly where I was heading.
So if I divorce myself of those thoughts, then I think the Chiefs are right where they are considering age of Kelce, and the unknowns of 2 of the 3 best receivers who have never played a snap in Kansas City. So,
and the guy, the number 1 receiver will not play the first 6-ish, 8-ish games of the season, which they're not necessarily including in there in their rankings, but like I can't help but do that a little bit.
And so for me, I think with an unbiased, if I'm using the exact same criteria, the Chiefs at 16 is fair.
Yeah,
it's fair.
I think it is. I think that you could, again, for as like uninterested as we may both be in Calvin Ridley right now, I think at least with the contracts ended up, I definitely would have taken Hollywood over Calvin Ridley in Kansas City. If you would say, hey, you could get Ridley on Hollywood's contract, we would all be geeked about Calvin Ridley. We'd be talking ourselves into the fit and all of that. But I think Hopkins and Travis Kelce have probably both had to endure a little too much talk about their age, given the caliber of player that they still are. Again, it matters the way that like Kelce gets used in this offense and gets used with Mahomes. So it's very, very hard to pretend the quarterbacks don't exist. But we could talk about Hopkins like Kelce, Ridley like Hollywood, and then it's a matter of who is Rashee Rice going to be when he gets back from his suspension? Who is Xavier Worthy going to be in the NFL at all? And the Chiefs do not have a proper third down running back on the roster right now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the guy that they're going to probably have in that role for the most part. But we're of the same mind on that. Isaiah Pacheco is this team's number 1 running back with a bullet. I think he'll catch a few passes this year and maybe a few. He took a little step there last year.
You still need a lot of bullets flying, by the way, right now. You've used that a couple of times now.
We've also said divorce a couple of times. We got bullets and divorce on the mind. I don't know. It's a weird energy that apparently for this show today. We both said it once. I don't know what to tell you. But even if Pacheco is improving in pass protection, especially and pass catching to some extent, you need him to not play 100% of the snaps. So I don't know what the strategy there is going to be. I'm with you, though. I think I would have probably argued for 15. I might have been able to get him up to 12. But I think I'm really buying in on Hollywood Brown in a way that I simply would not be if he was a Tennessee Titan. That it would not be as impactful if I were to step back like that. And also, in a lot of these cases, the air quotes expert matters, the analyst matters. In this case, it's Trevor Sikkema, who does good work and does a pretty good job, in my experience, of taking the 30,000 foot view across the entire league and trying to make reasonable judgments there. So I'm with you. That seems reasonable. I thought it was an interesting spot for them to land. But I think my own bullishness on Kelsey and Hollywood is making that feel a bit low to me, but I very much understand why I'm drinking that particular Kool-Aid.
I think Lauren Shanks, really fun, actually, point here. I wish PFF showed the salary cap percentage used on these players for the price. I think we're in good shape. And that'd be a really fun one of, for the price, where do these rank, right? The value, if you will. And if you do value, I think the Chiefs are in very, very good position. But that's just based on value. Because the Chiefs are very much far down. Travis Kelce is going to sway it. I've done this before with wide receivers only.
Yeah, I
and
can look at wide
fun.
receivers only right now if you want it.
The issue is Travis Kelce is the highest paid tight end.
Right. We can
Or
try
did
to
he
do some of that
become
math on the fly, but the Chiefs are 22nd in wide receiver spending, with Hollywood at about $8 million, and then Justin Watson at about $3 million, Darius Toney at about $2.5 million. Look at that. Rashee Rice is the 6th highest paid receiver on this depth chart right now.
I also wonder if you are a Raiders fan, right? Raiders are 17, one spot behind Kansas City. They're sitting here going, well, we have Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers was a stud last year, and we have Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. Like, do you think they're sitting here having that conversation? Do you think the Jets are like, we got Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams and Breece Hall's an absolute stud out of the backfield?
I'm surprised the Jets are at 19. Yeah, I think both of those are good. I think those are both good shout-outs by you.
So, just some interesting ones that I saw that I thought were fascinating. And then again, the Ravens being a little. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. You go first.
I was going to say the Ravens being at 23, that low was a little surprising for me. I don't think they're great, but Mark Andrews is phenomenal. Isaiah Likely is a really nice backup tight end as well. And then obviously when you have guys like Rashad Bateman and then, of course, Zay Flowers, what's interesting is Nelson Aguilar has turned himself into a decent wide receiver 3 as well. So the name Aguilar reminds you of dropping babies, but he's actually been decent since he left the Eagles.
I think, again, just no shade at all to Trevor for the list. I just think this is how it would work. I think if Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers and Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers were all Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes had been throwing the ball to those guys and would be adding Bowers to the mix this year, I think they'd be like 12, And maybe I'm only moving them up 5 spots, but there is something to what these pass catchers have proven and shown themselves to be, right? That's kind of the barometer for this whole thing. And a lot easier to show that when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback than when Aiden O'Connell is your quarterback. And so I think that's just, it makes the entire exercise just hard to fine tune in a way where you're completely removing the quarterback from the equation.
And plus, I try my best to be unbiased, but let's be real now. There are always going to be a few biases that swing in one way or the other, or you try so hard to be unbiased, and now you're almost penalizing the team because you're like, well, I root for that team. I got to be unbiased here. Hard. All right, couple of ones to get to for those wondering. The Patriots came in at 32, right? Last in football, not a shock. Chargers at 31. So AFC West, Chargers 31. Sticking in the AFC West, the Broncos number 30. Broncos coming in at 30, and then obviously in the AFC West, Raiders 17, Chiefs 16. Top 5 at number 5, you have Houston, which I think has the best trio in the NFL of Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and Stephon Diggs. 4, Bears, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, also Cole Kmet, and they signed DeAndre Swift. Number 3, the Eagles, coming in at number 3 with the addition of Saquon. Number 2, Miami. The number 1, San Fran. Not a massive surprise there.
And right now, are they going to be able to keep all those weapons? And where would they be without Ayuk? We don't know. The league is wild.
Doctor Who. Oh, Slothy. I hope that answered your question of where the Dolphins rank. Look at us. Boom.
Look at us.
We're smart. We're so.
You want me to give a 30-second answer to the Rashee Rice question? I can rip one of those off real quick.
Yeah, Worldwide asked you a question that I'm not a lawyer. I almost said doctor. I'm neither a doctor nor lawyer. Yeah, neither.
I'd rather you be my lawyer than my doctor if I had to pick. But I'd rather
dude, I'd be such a good lawyer. I would argue so damn hard on your behalf.
You would argue hard. I don't know that you would argue well. I think I'm going to jail, but it would be a great show, and I wouldn't die at your hand, which I hopefully, and I might if you were my doctor. So Worldwide asked, will Rashee Rice be suspended before the legal process fully plays out? I don't know the answer to this, but it's a very good question that I think a lot of people are wondering. And I can hear the clock ticking now. I think he almost has to be, and I do not know if he will be. But with where the legal process is at, we all know now at this point, like the back of our hand, 8 felony charges. But even those were like pretty early on in the process. And I don't know that we ever got like the formal charges out of that. And certainly nothing has happened since that moment. I mean, other stuff's happened with Rashee Rice, but the charges haven't moved throughout the process. Something that that Seth Kaiser has pinpointed, who is a lawyer. Early on having, and maybe it's a Texas thing, but early on being a little bit like, well, wait, like where are these charges coming from? And then what's the next step? We don't have almost anything on that. It's been quiet since Easter when was it Easter Day or the day after, late March, right? I think the NFL kind of owes it to the Chiefs and to any team to say, hey, your player did a dumb thing early in the offseason before the draft. We are going to make sure you know how long he's going to miss before you guys break training camp. And really, you'd like it to be as early as possible so you know how you can adjust and game plan and what you're planning on being with or without your number one receiver. I guess there's a chance that Rashee Rice doesn't get suspended this season if they do wait for the legal process to play out. But and also Nate Taylor was very adamant a while ago that this will get figured out and he will be suspended for this season, which I think would be the best case for everybody. The worst case scenario is that like Willie Gay got suspended into the season. You do not want Rashee Rice to play 6 weeks and then get suspended for 6 weeks and then come back in week 13 or 14 figuring out like how to ramp back up right before the playoffs. So I wanted to mention it because it's a very, very good question that the NFL needs to answer and they need to know for themselves. Roger Goodell typically would rather the legal process play out and then he can come in and give his extra sticker of punishment on top of that. But if they're going to get it done before the season, I do think the NFL probably has to break trend there because Rashee Rice isn't going to go to trial before the end of August. So I don't know. It's going to be kind of a sticky spot here, which I think is not ideal for anybody.
And then you obviously have the commissioner's exempt list if the NFL so choose to use that, right? And then it's basically he's on the exempt list if you did, and then what do you do? Well, you can almost use those as back pay, if you will. Like, oh, well, you already missed 6 games because of the exempt list. That we're counting that as your punishment. So a lot of ways for this to play out.
But it's indefinite, and so if you still don't get that resolution sooner rather than later, you may not know where you were at in the suspension. It's a good point, though. That does feel relatively likely that he ends up there, but I don't know that it's going to get solved mid-season either.
Yeah, it's wild. Moral of the story, don't be a dumbass, which is kind of, I think, a good thought process to live by. If you don't be a dumbass, then you're not in this situation. So
can we get that on the scroll, please? Can we get that on the lower scroll? Can we just get don't be a dumbass just running under me and Sterling at the height of hypocrisy?
Right. Yeah, the pot meat kettle. Pot meat kettle.
Well, there was pot involved too, but I think you got away with that.
Doctor Who says, has either Sterling or Josh danced with anyone famous on stage?
I think you've got a better angle for that than I do, probably. You're just around a lot of famous people and hosting events and stuff. I've been on stage at the Midland, but I don't know that I've ever danced on stage with anybody particularly famous.
Yeah, the dancing part's what's throwing me.
Yeah.
Like, I introduced ZZ Top on stage. I didn't dance on stage.
Did you dance off stage after you announced them?
I mean, I may have had a little boogie, a little boogie with me.
Did you share the stage? Or did you get out there?
I introduced,
say, ladies and gentlemen, ZZ Top.
They came on behind me.
Okay, so you shared the stage with ZZ Top for some period of time, and then you may have boogied off a little bit. So I think that's pretty close.
If it's not dancing,
No, but I'm trying to get the closest.
Oh, my
Contender
fiance Natalie goes. It's probably in reference to Travis Kelce at the Eras Tour. Thanks, Nat.
It is.
Appreciate you.
It is. It very, very much is. Does she listen to this?
She can hear me probably in the other room because I'm a loud man.
Fantastic.
I've been on stage with Travis Kelce and I shook his hand. No, I don't think I've really danced though on stage.
That's another Taylor Swift song. Go ahead. We can keep it moving.
No, it's a good question. Good question. Just don't think I've danced.
You want a little show pickup here, Stu? I got something for you.
Let's do it.
Let's stew it. As I was cleaning out my office a little bit today, you said it's like you said stew it, and I feel like let's stew it should also be on a t-shirt. And I was cleaning out some stuff around my office, just trying to reorganize some things, downsize some stuff, and I found this a slightly more than half full box of sealed 1992 Leaf baseball cards. I've got a whole bunch of packs of these that I'm gonna open. I just thought maybe I'd open a pack here with you now, and we could remember some baseball players from 1992.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. That's very much up your general alley, right?
Yeah.
These cards are older than we are. I'm hoping for a holographic Bernie Williams.
Oh, that'd be good if you get a Bernie.
Hey, look, first up here, we got Mike Bordick, Bordick. We are off to a great start. Then we've got Cardinals catcher Tom Pagnozzi.
Yeah, of course.
Looking straight at his helmet. I won't make it a whole visual bit. It's still a podcast. We have Monty Ferris. Hey, Greg Olson. No, not that one. The Orioles pitcher, spelled with 2 G's and Olson. Isn't the tight end En?
I don't know. I just know there's one G. Well, there's 2 G's in his name, but it's not GREGG.
There's a black card on the back. I don't know. It's something shiny. I moved it to the back here. But let's go ahead and go back through. We got Mickey Tettleton. That's a Tigers catcher. Dave Stieb, Toronto Blue Jay.
Oh, yeah, Dave Stieb. Yeah, that's actually a decent one right there.
Ramon Martinez.
Okay.
Carlton Fisk.
Oh, you got a Carlton Fisk?
Right here, just back behind the plate, just about to fire one over to second or back to his pitcher or something.
Dude, you got a Carlton Fisk? That's got to be worth at least like 75 cents.
I don't think I could sell these whole packs for 75 cents, but I'm having a great time remembering some guys. Tom Candinotti, Gene Larkin. We've got a horizontal Kim Batiste shortstop, a little landscape mode on that card for some reason.
Wait, Carlton Fisk had to have been like his last year in the majors. If this is 92.
I was surprised to run into him here.
He's a Hall of Famer. So you got a Hall of Famer card right there.
His first year in the league, he only appeared in 2 games in 1969. Nice.
Wow. Nice.
And this is from the 92 series. So yeah, the back of his baseball card is dense. We have from Thrift Shop fame, Mark McLemore. May not be the rapper. No, never mind.
It could be, though. Could be.
We got Paul Gibson. Great expression here. You can see some huge glasses. Just some giant rims there. And 2 left here. Bob Kipper. And then this black card with the gold foil.
Ooh.
Chad Kruger, catcher from the Detroit Tigers. He's got mostly minor league stats on the back here. This isn't like numbered or anything. It just says gold edition.
Wow.
But there you go. Remembering some baseball guys.
Wait, you have a gold Chad Kruger card right there? Wow. Right here.
And I'll sign it. I'll sign it and give it away to one lucky viewer who Venmos me $10.
I also love that you got like 9 catchers out of the 12 cards you opened.
A lot of catchers. You're right. Oh, look for randomly packed gold leaf rookies. It says on the box here. So that might not have been guaranteed that was in this pack. I just got really lucky with Chad Kruger. You're right. A lot of catchers.
You did get 2 Hall of Famers, though.
Carlton Fisk
and Dave Stieb.
There you go. I'm going to see how many non-catchers or pitchers I got. Just looking for position players here.
Also, I love Slothy. He goes, you're giving it away and charging $10, and he goes, that's not giving it away.
Well, yeah, I had the thought that I didn't really want to mail stuff. That felt like a lot of work, but I still have a lot of packs of these and a lot of baseball cards. So I don't know. There might be some bit in here. In that
save
entire
one a week until the Chiefs actually do stuff and we have actual news. Just save a pack a week because it's 5 minutes of enjoyment for everyone.
I think it's fun. 5 position players. Everybody else was a pitcher or a catcher. And yeah, no, I will not rip through the like gold bars of what I have left here. These will be saved for quiet moments. I may open another one over on Only Weird Games, Sterling, the podcast over on KC Sports Network that I do with Seth Kaiser and Nate Taylor, kicking off here in probably about an hour from now, about 4:30, 4:35, 4:40 Central Time, Tuesdays and Thursdays over on KCS. Maybe I'll open one over there, but this is going to be hopefully weeks of content because there's a lot of packs here.
Yeah. Barbecue sauce is going to have to wait. Sorry.
I need more time. Also, I want to do that ranking correctly.
Yeah.
Alan says Fisk played 25 games in 1993, his final season. Thank you, Alan.
Oh, wow.
Bet you didn't think you'd be able to give us that piece of your expertise during this Arrowhead Addict podcast today, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, we did it.
Oren says they're hoping for Cal Ripken or Frank Thomas. Just give it time. There are a lot of packs here. Also, some that apparently opened a long time ago. I won't read them through again, but
I have a lot of baseball and NBA cards. I have way too many NBA cards.
How bad of a name for a pitcher is Bob Walk? W-A-L-K.
Not great.
It's got
Not
BB
great,
in
Bob.
his first name, too. It's based on Ball's Walk. That might be the worst pitcher name of all time.
Well, if the guy's last name is Dinger, I think you're screwed.
I don't know, man. Wait, hold on, Sterling. I have huge news. And we can play this or that or whatever. This little stack I had, which I think was from one other pack I may have opened 5 years ago. 2 Bob Walks.
Wow. 2 Bob Walks.
2 Bob Walks.
2 men on base right there.
Love baseball cards.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to play this or that. Okay.
Hell yeah. Is there music for that?
Is there music for that? Come on. All right. This or that is a game that we play on this show.
How Bob Walk is still with us or not horribly problematic.
I ask a couple questions, and Brisco basically gets to choose between the two, but not always. Sometimes I ask a question, there's only one answer. All right.
14 years in the big leagues for Bob Walk.
That's a lot of walks, Bob. All right, Brisco, you ready?
606 walks over the course of his career, but 848 strikeouts. I'm ready.
All right. Pool or lake?
Oh, I was thinking billiards there, the way that began.
No, I would have said billiards if I said billiards.
Yeah, I think I'll go. Am I in it? Is this about being in a body of water or the entire experience of being on a pontoon boat, being poolside?
Either or. It's what your heart desires.
I think I'd rather go hang out on the lake, but if I'm gonna get in water, I'm not afraid of chlorine, and I don't want to get bit by a fish, So yeah. I'll hop into a lake, but I'm gonna say that if you're saying, hey, you want to spend an hour in the water, I'll go to a pool. That's fine. You want to spend a couple hours out for the day, rather be on a boat than poolside, I think.
Brian says, what would you give me for a Sterling rookie card? His stats are pinnacle to Sky Moore status. If you create a Sterling Holmes rookie card, I will be enamored by that. We should do Arrowhead Addict rookie cards.
I would absolutely adore that. You can put some of our stats on the back. Yeah, I'm in. You can use my name, image, and likeness for this. I'm down. I just want a few free.
Yeah. All right, beer or seltzer?
I've been a pretty big seltzer boy, and the quirks and the quirk whips in particular from Boulevard have been a real game changer in that regard. Love that strawberry banana. It feels like you're drinking a little alcoholic smoothie. Are you with me on the strawberry banana quirk whip?
Very good, very good.
really good. And
I'm a beer guy first, but I'll still rock with the seltzers.
I would have been a little skeptical that for myself and certainly for most people, strawberry banana seltzer, like you're very much playing to that smoothie flavor, but without the smoothie texture. I could have seen some people getting weird with that. Man, they nailed it. It's incredible. It's a great seltzer.
All right. I'm still going beer over seltzer, but seltzers are still solid. Does Bolton get a second contract with the Kansas City Chiefs?
I sure think so. And hey, one more shameless plug. That's kind of our lead topic on Weird Games coming up here in a little bit. Seth took a closer look at the Chiefs defense without Nick Bolton and how it fared with Drew Tranquil there playing the mic. And we'll talk about that today.
Plug. Who gets second place in the AFC West?
That's a good question. I can't pick the Broncos, and I don't think the Chargers are there yet roster-wise, even though they have the second best quarterback and head coach. That like if you were saying start a franchise, take an AFC head coach quarterback behind Reed Mahomes, it's the Chargers easily. This year, give me Gardner Minshew to win 9 games and take second place in the AFC West. I don't believe in that very much though, so don't take that to DraftKings.
I do believe in the Raiders winning 9 games with Gardner Minshew as quarterback.
Do you really? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Let's ride.
About Time says, sipping some Buffalo Trace right now. I am jealous. Big Buffalo Trace man. Better record next year. Texans or Ravens?
Ooh. I don't have the schedules up right now, but I know the divisions, and we're gonna do this every year for the entirety of like Mahomes' career and the Chiefs' dominance, and so I know that the Texans are kind of the trendy team in the AFC now. But I'll go Texans right now. I'm kind of buying that hype, and maybe more than I should over the more established winners with Baltimore. But it's hard to be as good multiple years in a row as the Ravens have been. It's why the Chiefs doing it is the most impressive thing in the sport right now.
Who is the best fan base in football not named the Kansas City Chiefs?
Oh, boy. Okay, I had an immediate answer jump to mind. I don't know that it's true, but it's hard to argue against Buffalo. If you were to say, where would you want to tailgate, not in Kansas City, put on a local team's jersey or a hoodie or whatever, I would go to Buffalo. I wouldn't go to Buffalo, but I would want to be at a Buffalo tailgate, I think. I'd go through a table. So it also, I mean, long-suffering loyalists still have to deal with a really questionable head coach and an extremely fun quarterback. My first instinct there was to go Buffalo.
Yeah. All right, now, who is the worst fan base in all of football?
Any of them on Twitter, mostly. This is not the answer to your question, but the worst fan contingent in football is reply guy on Twitter. Blue check that just like responds to every single thing with like win a real ring or we don't care or nobody asked or whatever. That's all atrocious. Other people would say Chiefs fans now because you just pick against the team that is having all of the success, but I can't do that because the Chiefs are the team that's having all the success. I don't think I really have any fan base beef. I mean, being in Kansas City, my instinct would be that Cincinnati has had a pretty rough go of it. But that's mostly me judging Bengals Twitter. So I don't even know if that's necessarily fair, but I've had about enough of them for now.
Yeah, I've had enough of Bengals Twitter. I don't know about their actual fans, but their
That's
Twitter
the thing.
is
I mean, like
obnoxious.
Bill's Twitter is fine, but it's not like, oh yeah, I want to hang with Bill's Twitter. I don't. I want to go to a tailgate.
The actual correct answer is Dallas Cowboys fans. Not the loyal Cowboys fans, but the Cowboys fans that are Cowboys, Lakers, Yankees. They were Bama football. They're actually now Georgia football fans. They've moved. And they went from Kentucky fans to UConn basketball. Weird.
Even the diehards, even the Dallas-based Cowboys fans that aren't just front-runner fans or whatever you want to do there. There is a sense of entitlement that the Cowboys deserve to be in the A block of every ESPN show throughout the entire offseason. And that gets on my nerves a little bit. That's more about how the media covers the Cowboys, but that has not helped either. I'd go Cowboys, NFC, Bengals, AFC right now, but again, if I was traveling the world or traveling the country at least, and doing 32, I guess there aren't 32 stadiums. Are there 30 stadiums because of 2 shared ones? If I was visiting every team's home tailgate, I would be willing to split a hot dog with any fan base in the NFL.
Okay.
Yeah,
Weird. Brisco, you got about 45 seconds here. What's a better story, your Tim's or your golf story? You're going to tell one quickly.
I'll say that my golf club is here. I have a driver now from PXG. I have my own lightsaber, essentially, in the way that process all went. So one of these days pretty soon, I'm going to need somebody to take me out on the driving range, Sterling, and teach me how to handle this, because it's about ready. I'm going to just go driver and putter and no other clubs, I think, but I have the driver ready to go now.
Bold. We have the same driver. Shout out PXG.
Do we really?
Shout out to them. Yeah.
Black Ops.
Shout out to PXG. I was smashing it on Sunday morning.
We'll talk Tim's later. It's longer. It's a longer story, but I've got my driver.
This is Josh Brisco joining us on Tuesdays. Brisco, we love you.
Aw, we love you too. Who's we, Sterling? I'm not going to tell. It's a mystery.
It's probably your dog. All right, everyone who watched this, please give us a thumbs up. Give us a review if you like us. Only if you like us. I don't know. Give us a review either way. We still appreciate that. You can follow Brisco on the X at JB Brisco. You can follow me at HomestretchKC. I'll be back tomorrow with Adam Best. Until next time, we are out.